Welcome to week 4 of our pregame football podcast. My name is Amy Strain, Sarah's Director of Marketing and Communication, and I am quite fortunate to be joined here again today with Sarah's passionate varsity head coach, Patrick Walsh.
Thank you. That works. Passionate works.
I figure I'm seeing the passion rise with the season.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we had a great pregame discussion last week about the game that was played on Saturday against Half Moon Bay High. We saw some incredible football. The Cougars played rough and hard, but in the end, Sarah came out on top. I think everyone was surprised with how well Half Moon Bay handled the first half, ending with a score of 14-7 Sarah. Can you talk a little bit about how you felt there?
Yeah, I didn't feel great at all. I mean, I'm glad that we had more points than them, but it felt a little bit like 2019, not as much, but that's a testament to Coach Holden and his staff at Half Moon Bay. That's what they do. They find a weakness and they bleed clock and they play keep away, and nobody does it better than them. So we saw it again, and I was not surprised because, as I said on the previous podcast, these kids in Half Moon Bay are tough. You can dress 20 of them or 25 of them or 50, whatever, but no matter what happens, Coach Holden's going to have those guys well coached, well prepared. They're not afraid of anybody. So all of that came to fruition. I thought we could have done some better things defensively to stop them and get the ball back sooner. We had 2 possessions. We had 3 possessions only, 2 touchdowns and a punt with some mistakes. But we didn't. Again, I always tip my hat to the opponent. There's another team on the other side that actually does things. So I'm never gonna sit in a podcast and say how bad Sarah is or any of those type of things. There's another team that's trying to win.
Absolutely.
And so, we saw that a lot in the first half. We shook out some cobwebs and made some adjustments in the second half. We made some emotional adjustments. We made some defensive adjustments. We made some, mental adjustments. And then I think what everyone saw in the second half, they expected to see in the first half. But it's high school football, and you never know. I know we're going to talk about that later in the podcast.
Absolutely, and that was one of my questions was, you really supercharged the team. That first half was, it was nerve-wracking for all of us in the stands thinking, oh my gosh, we thought that, we would come out, maybe having Sarah ego a little bit, or maybe just being on Sarah's side, everyone really thought that we would come out and hammer them. And it was kind of, after talking about the drive last week, I was thinking, oh gosh, they really are, giving us a run for our money. I also noticed, and I just hats off to Half Moon Bay because I was so impressed with just how hard they played. They're, like you said, they're playing offense and defense, a lot of these players. And at one point when they were switching teams, I saw just on the sidelines so few reserves. And I thought, wow, that's it. The athleticism is amazing.
And not only athleticism because they have great players, but just the heart and toughness. And they believe in being Cougars, and belief goes a long way. Unfortunately for them, if you will, games are 48 minutes long. They're not 24. And at times, this is a game where it takes a lot out of you, particularly on a hot day, on a 1 o'clock game or 2:30 game. Takes a lot out of you, and that's why the depth of our team helps. And at the end of the day, we won by 40. Coach Huggy, this is what I love about our staff that we'll talk about. We're sitting in the coach's office, we're all depressed and down, and God, what could we have done better? And which was great. And it was literally, if anybody had walked in, they would have thought we lost 47-7.
Wow.
And that's what I love about our staff. It's it just didn't feel the way we want things to feel. So we are detached from the scoreboard. And the feeling that we had after the game was kind of a sense of loss, if you will. And not in a weird way, in a positive way. But then, Coach Huggy, our great dean of students, he comes in and he goes, guys, you won by 40.
Saying that.
Not by 7, you won by 40.
Right.
And we're all this doesn't feel that way. But, after the game I said, I've been doing this for 21 years, and it's hard to win football games. It's very, very hard to win football games. So, we're going to enjoy this. We're going to learn from it, and then we're going to move on to Midi.
That's great, and I think that's a testament to your program in that the scoreboard really doesn't matter. It's the performance to get there, regardless of the numbers. Eventually, of course, you won't win. I get that, but
right.
That feeling of that personal feeling. And I'd like to talk. You said that you had made some mental and emotional adjustments at the half. What were some of the things that you told your team?
Yeah, we have one of the officials is an old school official. And I love him, and he sits there, he's the umpire, and not only is he looking for holdings and clips and things that happen up front, but he's also looking at how the kids are dressed. And this is an important thing to him, and I've known him for years. And if a kid's wearing a wristband, or he's got his pants above the knees, which is an NFL thing, or if there's just a little bit more adornments to make you look cool, he's going to throw you out of the game, take you out.
Wow,
And it's super old school. And arguably it might be a tad over the top. It's like, okay, that little wristband at WWJD is not going to tackle a guy.
Right.
But
It doesn't have superpowers.
it doesn't have superpowers.
Freeze.
I get it. But on the other hand, if it goes over the top where we're so worried about how we look, or what kind of tape we have on, or how's my spat look, and then it becomes chaotic. It's like, well, that's cool and all, and I'm kind of lenient on that stuff, assuming the refs are also lenient, which they're not.
Sure.
But I'm kind of lenient on it. It doesn't go over the top. There's not weird messaging. But it gets to a point where you forget to block, or you forget to tackle, or you forget to catch a pass, and the ball's on the ground, we're fumbling the ball, and then we're sitting here worried about how our tape looks.
Right.
I don't have time for that.
Sure.
We're trying to do different things and look good in the mirror. And that was the main mental adjustment. Take off all your stuff, take off all these fancy stuff, and whatever looks good on social media, I don't care. What looks good on film is playing good football, and we were not doing that. So that was the mental adjustment, I would say.
A little bit of uniformity.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of humility. Let's look the same. And again, this is 2021. This isn't 1980 where everyone looks the exact same and
Right.
everyone has the same haircut. And, those days are kind of over.
Yes, thankfully.
But anyway, so I would say that was the emotional push.
Good. Well, they certainly came out looking like a totally different team. They did a great job the first half, that's not what I'm saying. But,
Sure.
I mean, obviously the second half we saw some huge gains. We saw some enormous plays, beautiful plays.
Yeah.
Again, like the week before, things you typically you just love that you're seeing it in high school, right? It's just so much fun.
absolutely.
So, in the coach's eyes, can you give me a few examples of particular plays that impressed you?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the first one that stands out is the interception that we had. I don't know exactly if Joseph A. got beat, but he was definitely in a trail position. And, he's a great athlete, made up some speed,
Absolutely.
caught up to the receiver on play action pass, and turned his head at the last minute. And actually, the ball hit him right in the helmet. So heads up play there. Sorry.
That was amazing. You had to say it.
I had to say it was dumb. I'm sorry,
Love it.
listeners. Yeah. Anyway, so he turns around, the ball hits him in the face mask, and great hustle down the field from Leo Galindo, and he lays out, catches the ball on his fingertips. It was probably one of the top 10, if they did SportsCenter high school plays of the week. I think it might have made it in the top 10. I don't know about number one, but maybe 8.
It was pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And I did not think that was going to be caught. It was just great.
Well, it went from, oh my gosh, that guy's open, it's going to be a touchdown, to, oh my gosh, what an incredible play. So that was probably number one. But I would want to point out that my 2 favorite plays of the game were made by Dylan Judier. We don't, football's football, and you never know what's going to happen, but traditionally, we don't put the ball on the ground a lot. We don't fumble a lot. And in this particular game, we did. And, which was another kind of we had 0 fumbles in the second half and 5 in the first half.
Right.
And it was just, what the heck is going on? It's one of these weird deals. And 2 of the fumbles, one Hassan made a big play, running down the field, ball gets stripped out. Another one, Seamus Gilmartin, another big game, running down the field, open field, ball gets stripped out, there's 2 balls on the ground. And Dylan Judier, who was my MVP of the game, to be honest with you, because of this, was rewarded karmatic reward for being in condition, working hard, running gassers. He's always winning our gassers. He always shows up for practice. He never complains. He arguably could be playing more, never says anything about it. He just punches the clock, keeps his mouth shut, and works. And what happens? Ball's on the ground. He's hustling, because that's what he does.
Yep.
He recovers both of those fumbles, which those are difference makers in the game. I mean, big-time difference makers, and it's a spiritual lift when you see, a player, hustling without the football. We talked about Seamus Gilmartin the week before against Palo Alto. What do you do without the football? Those are some of the characteristics of championship football teams, and so those 3 plays combined with the 2 fumble recoveries were those are my favorite plays of the game.
That's great. Yeah, I definitely I have on my list to talk about Dylan Judier, number 88, right?
Yep.
A fantastic soccer player and a San Carlos kid, and just
Nice.
a wonderful dude.
Absolutely.
So I totally agree. And he definitely was a change agent in that game. That was really fun to watch.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Obviously, there were a few other change agents in the game. Hassan Mahassan was named Athlete of the Week by the Daily Journal. I almost said San Mateo Daily Journal.
Yeah.
Yesterday, after gaining 158 yards, 2 carries for 11, and 8 catches for 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So we must acknowledge his athleticism.
Yes. Well, like we said in a previous podcast, it's, Jason Kidd,
Yep.
must-see TV, just going out and watch him play.
Yep.
It was yesterday or it was Monday. This is bye week, and again, I feel like there's a karmatic return in sports for effort. And it may not always happen, but if you push, you work hard, you do things that Hassan does on a daily basis, you may be rewarded. For example, on Monday we ran a spring pass. We're doing a competition period in a bye week. I would say there's 22 guys in the field. 21 of them are, they're 80%, and one guy's 100%, which is Hassan Mahassan. And he catches the screen out, boom, he's gone, touchdown. And it's like, okay, guys. But see, as a captain and someone that, we all look to for leadership, his energy every single week is always top of the line. And every single week, he comes out and makes great plays in the game. So I think deep down inside himself, he was working out on Sunday with Don Lampkin at Westmore High School. That's what they do.
It's awesome.
Total
Total
dedication, and generally it shows up during games. He's a fantastic player.
Hard work equals gains, right?
Yes.
That's great. Well, I know that my little kids watching him, they're like, he's going to be famous. So it's definitely, I heard other kids saying it too, so it's not just mine.
Right.
That's exciting. It's really fun to watch him.
Yeah.
And we did talk about the amazing interception by Glendo, but I also want to talk about his kicking.
Yeah.
Because, obviously I'm a fan of good kickers, having D. as my nephew.
That's right.
But he's doing great, and I just thought he needed acknowledgement.
Yes. The most important defensive player on any high school football team is the guy kicking the ball off.
Right.
We're talking hundreds of yards in a game. Hundreds of yards.
He's got a boot.
He's got a boot, and if you kick the ball 61 yards in high school, it's an automatic touchback. It's not like college or NFL where you can take it out anyway.
Right.
So if it goes 61 yards, the ball crosses the plane, or 60.5 yards, it's a touchback. The ball starts on the 20. And if you start adding up the numbers where, hey, potentially they could be at the 40, they could have scored a touchdown.
Right.
It is a defensive weapon.
Right.
So just that alone. So
And it's
future.
every time. He's
got a
good,
boot,
of course,
yeah.
but it's
Very consistent.
Really consistent.
Very, very consistent. One of our goals is kickoff return 75% at the 25-yard line. 75% of the time, we were 8 for 8 on kickoff, so they never got to the 25 because the ball was always in the end zone, as you're saying. So it's a total weapon. And for any future Padres listening, I don't care if you actually play football, but if you can kick the ball 61 yards, you're on the team. You're our kicker.
And kicking a football is not easy. It's really not.
Yeah, he makes it look easy on kickoff for sure.
Good. Well, hats off to him. So in looking at the game, and you just brought up one of the goals, but we talked a lot about how you quantify your performance in the games last week, and we talked about the 12 goals that you measure each game by. And so I'd like to know if you would describe what the game score was for this game, and just any specifics or highlights that you want to let people know about, because I think now people are really interested. And I think it's, somebody said something, they said, when he said football geeked out, I loved it. Because that's what people love to hear.
Right, now I might have lost a few people in the numbers.
I doubt it.
Okay. But we were, as I think the feeling in the locker room was, we scored 75%. We were 8 of 12.
Awesome.
And 75% in the classroom is a C.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it felt like. So
That's what you were saying about your feelings afterward.
correct, yeah. I think the staff felt like it was like it just didn't feel right. So if you look at the goals, it felt like a C because it was. It wasn't the standard of football that we expect at Serra. And we were 8 of 12. We were 3 of 4 on offense. The one goal that we did not get was the 20% rule, 12% rule, which is efficiency, which is no fumbles, no interceptions, no penalties, no turnovers, all those fun things. And we were at 23%. So our goal is 12%. We were almost doubled that goal on the negative end.
Okay.
So that was not good, and that's where the fumbles come in. And thank God we recovered them. We actually put 5 balls on the ground and recovered all of them, which is, I believe in luck. The harder we work, the luckier we get.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty good, right? They should be on the ground in the first place.
They should never be on the ground. We shouldn't be celebrating Dylan Judier for covering fumbles because the ball shouldn't be on the ground. But if they do go on the ground, we better be there to pick them up.
Right.
So, that was, we were 3 out of 4 on offense. We scored 100% of the time in the red zone. We did some good things. We drove the ball. We had 2.6 first downs per drive, which is the other one. And we actually had no turnovers. We had 0 turnovers, although the ball's on the ground. On the other side, the defense was 4 for 4. It didn't feel that way time of possessions, but that's not one of our goals. Obviously the Half Moon Bay Cougars executed their game plan, kind of bleeding the clock, getting things going. So it didn't feel like a 4 for 4 game because of time of possession in the first half.
Right.
And that's something that, but we don't measure that. So they had 7 points, we got that goal. We hit all our goals. There was some chaos in the second half. So the ball, interception and a tip, that's 2 points for us.
Right.
So anyway, so we were 4 for 4 there. And then disappointingly, we were 1 for 4 on special teams. And bottom of the fire, championship football, all the things that people never really think about, we think about all the time, and that's special teams. We got a punt tipped on a punt. That was not good.
Right.
There was some execution issues there. Our kickoff return did not average at the 35-yard line. We averaged at 32. The punt was 17 yards because it got tipped. That's not good. We wanted to be 35 yards. We did go 8 for 8 on kickoffs, so that was good. But we were 1 for 4 on special teams. So 1 for 4, 4 for 4, 3 for 4. That's 8 of 12, 75%. And that's what it felt like.
Right.
Just felt like
So
a
that's
C.
an area that you're going to focus on then, special teams?
Oh, absolutely. I can talk horror stories, and I'll tell you one good story. I think sometimes people like to hear these stories because 2001 or 2002 was a long time ago. It feels like yesterday for me. This is year 2. Sarah hasn't won a WCL title since 1972. We were playing in the WCL championship game, and we actually won 7-6. We won 7-6. Or 8-7 or something like that. We won 7-6. We did not score a defensive touchdown. We scored on kickoff return by Chris Denny Brown, who then ended up going to Yale. Just a fantastic athlete. He was one of our captains that year. They kicked the ball off to us. We had great execution. We scored a touchdown. Unbelievable. On the flip side of that, we lost by 1 point, and we were always chasing a point in the state championship game because we got a PAT blocked. And then first PAT, hey, touchdown, great, 7-something, Sarah. No, PAT blocked. And that 1 point just hung over our head the entire game. And we ended up losing to Sierra Canyon, I think 41-40 or 42-40. It was just one of those type of games where it was always that 1 point was hanging over there. So, anybody wants to argue with me about special teams, I think special teams wins championships.
You had said that. I remember you talking about that. I don't know where we were. I think it might have been actually at the varsity parent meeting. You were talking about just how important it. I mean, every team is important, but that is such a huge element of consistency and reliance.
Exactly, and you can win quickly and lose quickly in that area. And if there's not attention to detail on it, which myself and Coach Ortiz is special teams coordinator, he thinks about it more than anyone on the planet. Again, he could sit in this chair and tell you, I don't even know if he could tell you anything positive about special teams because it's just those one plays just they can haunt you forever. Whereas, in an offensive game or defensive game, there's 60 plays. There might be that one play at the end of the game, but there's 59 other plays that mattered. And in special teams, you might get like 2 chances to recover a kickoff.
Right.
One of the games we lost to St. Francis in we got off the bus and we're down at St. Francis and we're still buckling up our chin straps and we kick it off to Cyrus, Haliki, anyway, he played at Oregon, and 7-0 St. Francis before you can even blink.
Oh, gosh.
We lose by 1.
Wow.
Let's say we cover that kick. Do we win by 6? Maybe.
Right.
So it's, I could sit around the table and talk forever about historical misery. We've done a lot of good things, but sometimes for some reason our staff, at least myself, our souls hang on to the miserable things.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's maybe what, that's actually a great parlay to what I wanted to talk about today, because I'm super impressed with how your coaching staff plays such a pivotal role in the ownership and evaluation, not only of every game, of every player. I mean, they're just so invested, and,
Right.
and it shows in the players, it shows, when you guys come out, it's really impressive. And I thought maybe, I think people would like to hear more about how your coaches lead and the method of coaching that's so, crucial
Sure.
to the success of Serra football. So I wondered if you could just kind of go through and talk about, who's in charge of what team, and just a little bit briefly about them.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it's another podcast would be spent on, who's filming our games, statisticians or strength coaches.
And Meerkats. We
Meerkats.
got a lot of behind the scenes people that make it go. For
Thank
sure.
you. Yes, and that's my general point is there's a 0% chance I could do this job at Serra, particularly given the life that I'm in with my kids, my wife, and
Sure.
the business that I run with Next Level Sports. And there's a 0% chance I would be here without these fantastic coaches. And it showed up last year in 2020 when, again, I wasn't even at Serra. I was out doing other things and trying to work to get the state open. And
Right.
meanwhile, there's kids here. And there's kids here. Serra did an amazing job of staying open, having the kids lifting and running and doing everything we can to get the boys back on campus. And our coaches were there, right? And this is a testament to them. But again, I don't think I would be, I know that there's a 0% chance I would even be here without the support of these guys personally. And then how does that work? It trickles down to the kids and everything else. And these are professional coaches that are not paid professionally. They're paid as high school coaches in the Bay Area. All of them are. It's just the way it is. But they make it a point to show up for these boys each and every week. Coach Monsef is our defensive coordinator, Steve Monsef. He's been the defensive coordinator since 2018, replacing Coach Chris Vassar, who was arguably one of the best defensive coordinators. He's doing defensive podcasts now. He's kind of famous.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He brings defense onto the internet, and people study him, and he studies everything. He's really a gifted guy. And Coach Monsef knows Coach Vassar really well. So when Coach Vassar moved on after we won the state championship in 2017, which was sad, he moved on, went to Clovis. Now he's living in Florida. But it was a natural transition because we didn't have to change our defense.
Great.
And it took a year for Coach Monsef to be himself, and now it's his defense, and it's totally different than, it's similar, but it's different to what Coach Vass was doing. He became himself, and his personality's shining through. The kids love him. They give him crap, but they also respect the heck out of him. And so that's our defensive coordinator, Coach Monsef. He's prepared. He works hard. If we give up 50 points, I'm not going to care because I know behind the scenes he's doing everything he can to make sure that doesn't happen. Coach McGee has been with us forever. It feels like he's my longest tenured assistant coach. The continuity of the staff is fantastic. I have one goal when it comes to hiring coaches. I have one rule, actually. No adult drama. That's my rule.
That's a great rule. We should apply that to everything.
No adult drama. If something bad is happening in your life, which happens, this is reality,
It's life, yeah.
let me know about it. When you walk through the gates, punch the ticket, and let it go. I don't tolerate adult drama on the coaching staff. And in my 21 years here at Serra, the most miserable times I've had is with my own staff members. And it's just, we don't have time to fight that war. Like, we're all in this together. We're on the same team. It's hard enough to beat Midi in a couple weeks. We have to beat Serra every single day, too. We're not doing that. So Coach McGee, the longest tenure, brings straight continuity. He's a genius, and he's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being. He coaches our safeties, which in a 4-2-5 defense, they're basically quarterbacks to the defense, quarterbacks to the secondary. Their eyes matter. What they read matters. And he knows the defense as well, he knows it as well as Coach Monsef. If Coach Monsef couldn't make it to a game and had to go to a wedding or something, Coach McGee would be calling the plays. So, and just on a personal level, he's such a wonderful man. His kids go to Serra. His wife Ollie is going through a tough time, and we pray for her every day. And it's just it's a beautiful family and a beautiful person to be a part of Serra. Coach Jeff Thomas, who I coached.
That's awesome. Great dude.
He's a Padre.
They're all great dudes.
Oh yeah, he's a Padre through and through. Padre alum, just loves Sarah more than anything on the planet, I think, besides his daughter and his wife, of course. But outside of that, it goes without saying. But
he's got some massive enthusiasm.
He does.
It's great to see.
He does, and I will say that enthusiasm led to a 15-yard penalty last week, which we love, Jeff. But after that amazing interception, Coach Thomas was on the field. Like, Coach. So I would rather tune someone down. Exactly. Like when he ripped sack and against Ohio State, and anyway, that segues into the fact that he was a great player here for us at Serra. Was on the team that beat St. Francis for the first time in 34 years, 35 times.
Wow.
He was on the field for that play. I'll never forget it.
Wasn't Huggy too?
Huggy, yeah. They were on. Yep, Coach Huggy, our Dean of Men, was on that field, and that was a special night, and it was a special team. They did something that no one's ever done in 34 years, which is crazy.
Amazing.
Just erasing history like that is, you can't beat it. I mean, that game is my favorite game in the history of Serra. Someday we could probably talk about it, maybe St. Francis week.
I would love to.
Yep. So Coach Thomas is the linebacker coach, and he's coaching at a very high level, and he's had his best coaching years the last 2 years. We have 2 puppies playing inside, and I wouldn't want a better linebacker coach than Coach Thomas to work with our young athletes inside. Coach Eagle, my brother, defensive line coach. What else can I say? He's my brother.
I was just going to say, but you have to say older or younger.
He's my younger brother.
Oh, okay.
He's my younger brother. He's better looking, but he likes him more. It's that whole deal, So he's
got the little one running around, right?
Yeah,
Cute. Yeah.
He's got little Caden running around, so he's juggling being a dad and coming to school. He's what I say with him and Coach McGee. They have real jobs. They actually go to work.
Right.
Coach McGee works for Service Now, which if anyone wants a stock tip, go look at it. It's like $650 now, and so Coach McGee's gonna buy us some helmets, I think, someday. I'm just kidding, Coach McGee. But these guys. So my brother has a real job. He works for Meraki, which was bought by Cisco. He works East Coast hours so he can be here every day with the kids.
Wow.
So he's waking up early. He's raising a kid with his wonderful wife Tian, and he gets here every single day to coach the defensive line. So and he is a De La Salle Spartan. So we come from that program, which I think we're going to talk about here.
We will.
And the expectations are very, very high there, and there's a general understanding of how to prepare and how to work. And I think it's nice to have a fellow Spartan on the staff here at Serra, so it's a nice blend. I think that's
another storied program, right? Like it's got such a great foundation there too. So I can understand exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. But I do feel welcome here. I'm not saying that the other way. Coach Bell is our offensive coordinator, so that was our defensive staff: Monsef, McGee, Thomas, and Eagle. Coach Bell is our offensive coordinator. He is 2-0 versus Serra as a quarterback at Archbishop Reardon High School. Yeah, just some miserable losses dealt by the hand of Coach Bell and his friends. And actually Coach Langridge, who's our freshman offensive coordinator, he was the head coach of Reardon at that time, and those were some dark days here. Those games were dark.
I like how small it all is, though. I mean, it's such a small world in this football pool.
Totally. I'll never forget it. These are all like Serra guys coaching at Reardon, and I didn't want to go to the after coaches party with the Reardon staff, which is all Serra guys, but I went. And as I'm walking in, one of the coaches says, never forget, he didn't know I was there. I was around the corner. Man, it feels great, but it feels even better to beat Serra. And I'm like, oh, what am I getting myself into right now?
Right here.
And I just go in and hold your head up, say hi, and get out. So, but Coach Bell is I'm only saying that because Coach Bell is a fantastic athlete, fantastic human being.
UCLA, right?
Yep. He went to UCLA. He was a quarterback there for a couple of years, and then when the new coaching staff came in, they moved him to wide receiver. He played for the Bruins. He's a very happy Bruin at the moment.
That's great.
It's been some dark times for the Bruins, but not anymore. At least it seems that way. So he's a very happy Bruin, very, very talented coach, creative. He's got the keys to the car on the offense. I let him do whatever he needs to do. Never question his play calling. It's a hard job to be an offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator, I feel like I've done both. I feel like defensive coordinator is a little bit easy as long as you win 56-55. No one really cares. Oh, it's the best game we've ever seen.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's a defensive coordinator crying in the corner. Right, so that it's. But if you lose 7-6, what's wrong with your offense? Fire this guy. What's up with the play calling? Everybody knows everything there is to know about offense. Nobody knows anything about defense. In the general public, it's like
it's all about scoring points. Right?
It's all about the ball, right? So whoever has the ball, everyone's trained to look at that. And what's wrong with Jimmy Garoppolo? And why did Kyle Shanahan call that play? But they're not sitting there talking about the defense. Like, oh, that looked like a good sack. Okay, next play. Coach Ortiz is our special teams coordinator. Ron Ortiz, another Serra Padre. He's another guy. You cut his, he cut him open, blue and gold's coming out. Loves Serra High School more than anything on the planet. Loves special teams. Takes it very, very serious. A lot of people don't want to study special teams, but he does. And he's great with the kids. A compassionate soul. If someone's struggling, you might take him to get a hamburger. Just he's a guy that just loves kids, and that kind of rounds out our staff.
It's great. And we should also mention that Coach Bell is also a leader in our athletics department as a whole, he's the associate athletic director.
Correct. Yeah.
So
he
really has a hand in organizing everything, and he does a very good job at it with Justin Ferdinand. Okay, so this week we have a bye, a nice long weekend. You're going to get some time away, which is good. And we will start our league games at Archbishop Mitty. And I don't want to get too far into it, but just overall, do you have any observations about how they're playing and what we can expect from?
I haven't watched any film. I've seen the scores, their scores against other teams. So that I don't like scoreboard watching. So it's going to be hard for me to comment on exactly what's happening over at Mitty because I haven't seen them play.
Okay,
so
that's fair enough.
There's time for that as we. This week, in the bye week, we focus on our spirit, we focus on our physical bodies, we try to get healthy, tryings for quitters, so we are getting healthy. So we are doing things in the weight room, we're running a little bit more, not hitting a bunch on the field. We want to get people back. So the WCL is a 7-week grinder. It's a grinder's jubilee. It's what keeps us up at night. It's what's kept me here at Serra for many years. And the WCL seems to be up this year. It's going to be.
It's a big deal.
It's hard. It's hard, and these kids need to get A's and B's in the classroom, and it's starting to get darker, and all these fun things are happening. And Halloween's my favorite day of the year. I love Halloween. It's just the best time of the year, but it's also the most challenging.
Oh yeah.
For many reasons. So WCL is, in my mind, the best league in Northern California, and if you look around this year, that probably is true.
I was going to say, and all eyes are on it right now, especially.
Yeah.
And so that kind of leads me into my next topic, which I feel that everybody would be hugely disappointed if I didn't ask you about the recent St. Francis de La Salle game. And we obviously, being that you went to de La Salle, you know so much about the program, and we played St. Francis so much. We've got a Poly Day history. I see you're wearing your shirt with the Poly Day emblems. First off, I guess you were there, right? So why don't you just tell us, just kind of take us through that game and just kind of some of your thoughts as you know that we do play them. So
that's right. We do? Oh, yeah, thank you.
That was a leading question.
Which is why I was freaked out.
You.
Yeah, thank you. Week 10, I think, isn't it? But yeah, that's why I was freaked out the entire night, just watching what unfolded that night. It was a spectacular night, and I usually don't go to games because it's just an inner toil, and I don't need that stress during the football season. So I like to either watch it on the internet or not watch a game on the internet, or go out to dinner or do something other than watch high school football, because I'm in it and living it and dying with it. It's healthy. This is just a personal thing. Ever since Huddle came out and you can just watch film at home whenever you want.
Sure.
The concept of going to scout a team, while still is important, I don't think it's as necessary as it used to be. So the fact that also there's not a lot of traffic anymore on Fridays. We had our chapel. We had a chapel. We got done at 6:15, and I'm at Mountain View at 7 o'clock or something.
Unheard of.
So nice.
Yeah,
no, and that's another reason why I'm driving around the Bay Area on a Friday afternoon. Forget about it. But now you can, allegedly. So got down there. I sat on the De La Salle side, saw the De La Salle coaches, known these people for 30 years or more. We're next to Rick Bianchina Jr., whose son AJ Bianchina scored the alleged go-ahead touchdown with a minute left or whatever, which was crazy. Brent Bianchina is my best friend, So
Wow.
so
All in the family.
Oh, it's deep. Yeah, very, very deep. The East Bay De La Salle thing is once a Spartan, always a Spartan type thing. So sitting over there on that side, I got to feel the emotions and the inner toil, and they haven't lost to a team in Northern California since my junior year. So my junior year, we lost to Pittsburgh High School, 35-27 in the Coliseum in 1991, and I had the dubious honor of, on the interception, this kid named Percy McGee, who is like a little ball of like lightning, caught the ball, and I could have tackled him, and I literally to this day can feel his powerful right thigh just rip right through my meaningless tackle. I'm laying on the Oakland Coliseum floor. There's rain coming down. The rain is probably my tears at this point. I'm looking back, and my dreams, and I dreamed of being a De La Salle Spartan as a young boy. It was just a foregone conclusion. That's where I was going. And my brother went there, and this was like, I was never on my watch. Am I going to let what's happening happen? And he runs in the end zone. They end up winning 35-27. I'll never forget the post-game celebration. It looked a lot like the St. Francis celebration the other night.
Yes.
Doing something that is very, very hard to do. And from that point, our group of friends said, this is never, ever, ever going to happen again. And that was my senior year was the first 13 games of the streak of 151 games in a row. So when we said it was never going to happen, it didn't happen for 13 years. And on top of that, what never happened was a Northern California team beating De La Salle until last weekend, which was 30 years. 30 total years. So it was the first time in 30 years that any team in Northern California beat De La Salle. So at that moment, I was, okay, do I light a cigar like the 1972 Dolphins, who they're undefeated? So on one level, the 91 team, that whole junior year experience, we're off the hook.
Right, no more pressure on you.
Yeah, no more pressure. Like, hey, you guys are the last team to lose De La Salle. Last team to lose De La Salle. Leave me alone. It was never that bad, to be honest with you. It actually never came up. It never came up, actually. It just comes up in my own weird mind. But, so that I was sad on one level because of all that. I obviously know the kids on the team. I know the kids on the other team too, actually. But not like that. Not like I grew up with these people.
Friends, kids.
Yeah, friends, kids, and I grew up being a Spartan, and so on that hand, I was sad. I was disappointed. I was a fan at that time. I'm sitting up there as a fan, so I'm also a coach, a fan. So there was a lot of toiling emotions. But on the other side, I stood on that sideline. I can't tell you how many times when playing St. Francis, and Coach Calcani does such a wonderful job of getting those teams to believe, and seeing high school football and all its grandeur after all of it that it wasn't in 2020 was so wonderful to see. All the kids having a great time, throwing baby powder up in the air, and so on that level, it was absolutely fantastic. Now, this is our league mate. This was good for the league. So, the Pac-12 goes somewhere and the Ducks beat Ohio State, that's good for the Pac-12. It shows strength. So, Coach Calcano doing something that has never been done in 30 years with his staff and his team, which we all get along very, very well in the WCAL. We are 364-day best buddies. And then,
Except for game day.
And then one day we play. Still friends, but not really. So, just knowing how that would feel for them, and doing what they do, and knowing I was a WCL league mate, knowing Greg the way I do, there was a lot of, I was actually happy for St. Francis as well. So it also makes me very nervous because they are our team, and they performed about as good as a team can perform, and did something that's never been done in 30 years. So it's week 10 is going to be a monster.
It was very exciting, and hats off to both teams. They both
Absolutely.
played their hearts out for sure.
Yep.
And the result is actually, I saw you were actually quoted in the Mercury News yesterday, and I loved your quote because it said, "Whoa." It was and it was basically in response to the fact that this win propelled St. Francis to the number 2 spot and Serra to the number 1 spot. Of course, of predicted outcomes, which is, you don't pay much weight to, but it still does when you see it in print, and always. And then of course that's the general public getting that buzz. It's a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, and I addressed that with the team yesterday, and my response was more like, "Whoa." Wasn't your was like more of a subdued whoa. Mine was whoa.
Oh,
so Yeah,
the whoa wrong.
yeah, you had the whoa wrong, but you weren't there, so I forgive you. So said whoa, and that was a response to the first fact that I don't think about rankings. That was my response, but it's like, whoa, there's rankings out there. Like, I get it, but I don't care.
Right.
And while I know it's real and it's out there, and I need to address it with the team because it means something, it's symbolic, it's a threat now to us, is the only reason why I addressed it. It's like, oh, you're number one. Well, there's 7 WCL league games to play.
Absolutely.
You're going to be something after those 7 games. Let's talk about it then. And then there's CCS. You're going to be something after those games. And then potentially a regional or state game. That's all. I don't care about any of those things. We can talk about this in December.
Right.
But it is something that is, again, hasn't happened since 1992 or whatever. And it's significant. And it's a significant to the negative, I think, for us if we don't handle this with maturity. We start reading press clippings and, oh, we're number 1. Oh, really? You know, Mitty's going to have something to say about that. Bellarmine's going to have something to say about that. St. Francis, all of Reardon, everyone's going to have something to say about that. Valley Christian, you know, Jurion Dickey's one of the best players in the country. He's going to have something to say about that when the ball's in the air.
Sure.
So for me, it kind of shocked me in the sense that I'm now going to have to address rankings.
Right.
And it is a challenge for us. And with social media and everything that we're actually doing right now, we're drawing more attention to Serra football, which is great. But how do you handle it? And in today's age with technology, and we have videos online, and you know everything that's happening, which is wonderful for our program and for our kids. It's a challenge, particularly if the number 1s. There's nobody below us right now, and everyone's. There's nobody above us right now. Everyone's gunning for the Padres, as they should be,
Sure.
and we're either going to meet it as a mature program, or we're not. We're gonna, if you continue to see the ball on the ground and you continue to see poor blocking or whatever, then we know we're not dealing with this with any maturity at all.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting because it is managing expectations for one, and meeting the overall, the ranking, right? Like, how will we perform? But I also think about St. Francis, and I mean that the sports psychology behind all of that. Like, that win is huge as well. So I mean, it could be a game changer if handled right as well, right? In terms of their team mentality, right? So
yeah,
it's all these outside emotional aspects of the game.
That's right. And Mike Tyson said everyone has a game plan until you get punched in the face. So all of this is going to be
changes.
Everything's going to be flying around, and all of a sudden we're
Butterflies and birdies too.
That's
in
right.
Tyson's case, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, tattoos and anyway.
Ears been.
Yeah, but whatever. Just guys flying in the stadium. There's some drama around that. But anyway, I think it's going to be exciting just to see how all of this unfolds in high school football. High school football's back. I think it's so exciting to just be doing what we're doing and take it for granted at all. Just doing what we're doing, being with each other, coaching, seeing a bunch of baby powder fly in the air at St. Francis. It's a different perspective, actually, just from a global perspective or an American perspective of just being back with the kids and seeing the families in the stands and kids running around the end zone catching balls and maybe going to the snack shack to try to get a cheesesteak or something. Just whatever. Just the outcome of what's happening inside of me right now is joy that we can have these conversations again. And we're still not out of the weeds when it comes to what we're dealing with as a society. And each moment that we're together and together as a team, all of us, is a blessing. And everything else is noise and whatever. I'm always going to maintain true that we want to walk the path of the spiritual warrior. And the ultimate goals is to achieve love, brotherhood, and humility. And one in the state, 10 in the state, 100, I don't care. The ultimate goal is to achieve that. And if we're standing in someone's wedding, I'm going to be at David Bakhtiari's wedding in March. That's a win.
Absolutely.
That is a win. And that's what Serra football is all about. Now, I know there's fans out there like, oh, that sounds great, but you better win.
Well, that's true.
Which I appreciate.
But I think that, I was just going to say in closing, because we want to thank everyone for joining us and listening to this podcast. But before I go, I just want to thank you for giving us the inside scoop and really going deep into some of these, some of the emotional and mental aspects of the game. And at the end of the day, you know, it's high school football. It's exciting. It's fun. If it were always guaranteed, it wouldn't be as exciting and fun. And,
Correct.
The strategies you employ in order to achieve your goals are really what we love learning about on this podcast.
Yeah, cool.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, again, I just thank you for your time. I know you are a busy man, and you know, your time, talent, and focus is always very much appreciated.
Thank
and,
you.
For everybody listening out there, we are now on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and we look forward to next week when we will discuss MIDI. Maybe you'll have some time to watch Huddle on that. So
Sure will.
yeah, sure. Just
Sure
write
will.
that on your schedule. But anyway,
Got it.
I appreciate your time. Go Padres.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure.